Are officially live, and it is Wednesday, February 1st, Chris, which is crazy. It's the beginning of the month, and I'm fired up because today we are going to be busy. We're going to have some fun. And the reason why I say busy, we're going to do this live stream, and then we're doing a private live stream for our students that went through our niche product magic training. So really fired up about that. But guys, today I am super excited to share with you something that is going to help us with the validation process. And I say help us, it's going to give us even more confirmation that there's good demand here. And that's usually what we're always looking for, is like, what kind of demand do we have for this product or for this niche? And that's what we're going to be covering here today. I've got a couple of examples I want to share with you. And I'm going to basically show you guys how you guys can use it as well. So Chris, how are we doing over there? Are we in fact live? Are there people coming into the stream?
It looks like we are rocking and rolling on Facebook. We got a couple people over there letting us know that they can see and hear us. For those of you joining us on YouTube, let us know that you can see and hear us over there as well, just to make sure that everything is working. And Scott, I'm fired up today. You and I were playing a little bit with what we're going to be talking about today over the weekend, and realized just how powerful this is going to be for people and just how cool this data is in general. But I think one of the things that got me really excited, and I know we weren't covering it in the workshop that we were doing over the weekend, but it was an idea that occurred to me, is just how fast we can now validate niches and product ideas with some of the things that we're going to be showing today. So if you guys have been struggling with that, whether you're struggling with the niche validation side of things and just trying to make sure that there's enough demand there, or if you have some product ideas and you're not sure if there's demand to meet those product ideas and you don't want to launch them until you know that there's demand, we have some really cool ways of seeing just exactly how much demand there is now and how you can do better than what your competition is doing, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. And, I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making is not doing product validation, like not looking to see if in fact it's selling or there's interest. And I think that's a big mistake to not do that. Now, don't get me wrong, there's people that are brand new and they don't understand it. So if you guys are here right now and you are new, all right, congratulations, because I'm going to share with you how to shortcut this. So this way here, when you are doing your product research or even your niche validation, you can use this two different ways. But it's really allowing me to be able to see when I'm doing my own product research, where I can see, yes, there is, even if I'm not looking at sales, I can see other metrics now, which is really, really exciting to be able to do. Now, guys, do me a favor in the comments. Let me know right now, what is the number one thing you struggle with product research or even just discovering your niche? Like, what is one thing right now that you feel like you're just not feeling confident with when you're going after a certain product or just coming up with ideas or validation in general? I would love for you to do that in the comments. That would be amazing. And I see that we got a bunch of people coming in here from YouTube. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Facebook, you guys rock. And maybe even just in the comments, let us know where you are tuning in from. That would be amazing. All right, Chris, I'm ready to dig in if you're ready to dig in, because, well, this is exciting. I want to dig in. I'm kind of chomping at the bit here.
Let's do it. It looks like we're up and live. All the tubes are connected all across the internet, so we should be good to go. And guys, as always, if you have any questions along the way, make sure to let us know. If we have some time at the end, we will kind of hang out for a little bit and answer some of those as well. So Scott, with that, if you're ready, let's jump into it.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about the validation piece itself. Okay. So when we are looking for products, now I'm assuming that you have your niche selected. All right. Now, if you don't have your niche selected, you can still use this process to do the validation, but let's just assume, let's go down the avenue of you already are in a niche and you are looking for other products and you want to see what is selling and what is selling well, what is sold in the past, what is the history on that. We want to be able to do that. So this way here, we can shortcut the flops, if you will, right? And get rid of those and not really avoid those, not even like shortcut them, but just get them out of the way. Because when we are doing traditional product research, we aren't able to really see the numbers. And a lot of times when people are looking at using a tool like Everbee, you don't really know what you're looking at or what really matters. And today I want to share with you how I stumbled on this new feature that just rolled out in Everbee and how this got me really excited. Actually, my wife and I, we started digging in after I showed her it, and we started going in our own niche and started to look at other avenues and sub niches and products. And we ended up sitting at the kitchen table for about an hour, actually later than we wanted to, because I wanted to go to bed and so did she. And it was like, we just kept going down this rabbit hole of these potential areas of our niche, because we were able to look into a little bit more in depth. So really just want to say, if you have your niche, this is something that I would definitely encourage you to do. Now, the tool that we are using is Everbee, and I will throw that up on the banner. And yes, I am an affiliate for Everbee. You will buy me a cup of coffee, which I have one right in hand right now, and I would appreciate it if you did go through my link, but you don't have to. But I'm just saying, if you do go through my link, I will get a cup of coffee for you signing up. Again, if you sign up for free, it doesn't cost you anything, and it is free for your first 10 searches, I believe. See, love that coffee. So let's go ahead and let's add this into the stream so I can go ahead and show you guys what I'm doing here. All right. So I just pulled up this here, moon phases. Now, it's funny because we did a workshop this past weekend, and we were talking about this niche. I also used it as an example. I believe it was on one of our YouTube videos. But moon phases, a very, very unique and very just obscure niche. Like, who would think moon phases could be a thing, right? I mean, look at this, moon phases, right? But then look at all of this here. Look at all of these little circles up here. These are all categories. Okay. These are all, like, if you were to do the same thing here and type this in, you would see auto suggest, right? So what this is telling us is, okay, there's definitely products here for this niche. Now, here's one tip for you. If you were looking at this here, moon phases, and you didn't see hardly any of these, like there's maybe like 2, it probably means there's not a lot of opportunity in that niche. Okay. So that's just one thing that I do look at. But if we're looking at this right here, there's not much data that we can see other than, okay, this is a star seller. This is a star seller. These are all ads. There's not a lot that it's going to tell us. Sometimes we can see the bestseller badge. Okay, that's great. But if you guys have ever used Everbee, which that's what you're seeing right here, this little extension here, let me try to draw this better, but this bar over here that you see, this is the Everbee, this right here, this is the Everbee extension that's kind of overlaying your, your computer screen, okay, your browser. So let's go in here now, okay? So I did the search, and then this is what it pulled up. Okay, now I could keep scrolling here, but I took a screenshot of this because I wanted you to be able to see it. And I'll kind of walk through some of this stuff. But basically what I did was I sorted it right here. Okay, I sorted by revenue. Okay, I sorted it by revenue. And this here is going to give me all the total revenue. I can do the same thing for estimated sales. I can do total sales and listing age. Now, the reason why I have these highlighted here, and I kind of made it a point to bring this to your attention, is because estimated total sales, what that's doing for me. Now, this isn't a new feature. This has always been there, but this is something that I look at. I'll look at that, and then I look at listing age. So I look at this and I go, okay, this here has 525 sales, okay? Total sales. It's been live for 11 months, okay? So that's not even a year. That's pretty good. And it right now, last month, it did 46 sales, and it did $4,800. Pretty good. Okay. So then I can do the same thing here. I'm like, okay, 13,000 sales right here, and it's been live for 2 years. Okay. So if we cut that in half, we got a little over, 6,500 ish sales. Okay. Per year. And last month did 517. It's only $6, But I'd be thinking, okay, is this a lead? Is this a lead in? Is this like a product that could lead people into my store? That's for another conversation. But that's what I'm looking at. Then I would look at this one. Okay, this is 2 months old. And let's see, it's had 130 total sales. This is last month's revenue. And then this is last month's sales. Not too bad. Okay. Here's a shirt. It looks like, let me get rid of this stuff. It looks like on that one there, it's had 191 sales and total 584. And look at this, only 3 months old. So the reason why I'm doing this is I'm trying to see like, okay, history wise, how many sales, what's it done recently? What's it done recently here? But then also how old is it? Right. So this is one piece of the validation that I'm doing. Okay. But that's not the special secret little sauce here that I discovered now that Everbee has allowed us to see. Check this out. Here it is. Favorites have always been there, which is really important. But look at this. This here. Okay. This right there. That's supposed to be an arrow. That right there, that is views. So now what it's telling me is it's had 85,738 views. Okay. This one here has had 412,743 views. Now, if I go back here, this is, let's see, the second one down. That listing is 25 months old. So I would say 25 months old, about 2 years. And in 2 years, it's had 412,000. That's pretty good. Okay. Now let's look at one of these other ones that isn't that old. So like this one here, 3 months old, 584. It's that shirt. So let's look at that shirt right here. It's had 19,196. So I'm looking at this, at the views really to see, okay, those aren't purchases, but it's interest. It's what people have seen this, they've actually went and either landed on it or saw it. Okay. So that's really, really awesome to be able to have that data. Now, the other thing that they added was this right here in this column, and that's conversion rate. So now I can see, okay, 412,000 views. Okay. It's been favorited 5,595. Now, you guys, if you haven't heard me talk about this, favorites are great. All right. To be able to see favorites, why is that great? Because we are able now to see that, okay, maybe they didn't buy. Maybe not all of them bought, but people touched that product. So imagine someone came in your store, they saw it sitting out on a display, they picked it up, and now we know that that's how many people were actually interested in that thing, right? Really, really important. So now if we look at views and we look at favorites, it gives us more data. Okay. Because the views is like, okay, that's how many people actually saw it. This is how many people actually favorited it. And this is how many people as a conversion rate, 3.17, which is pretty good from these views. Okay. So these are all metrics that I'm looking at. And sometimes the conversion rate doesn't really matter to me as much because it could just be not really a good listing. Now, this visibility score, this is something brand new as well. And this here, and I haven't really dug into it, but the way that I would use this now is not so much for, well, a little bit for research, but what I'm using it for is, okay, it's telling me that this is 100, the visibility score. That means that this here is pretty well optimized. If this was a 75 or something, or maybe a 60, and it still had good sales, that would be an opportunity for me to come in here, create a product that was similar, and I could do a better job on the optimization and potentially outrank them. So that's another cool thing inside of Everbee. All right. And once again, guys, if you have not yet signed up to try it for free, I would definitely encourage you to do so. And I think it's already up there. Yeah, Chris has got it up there. So definitely give it a try. Like there's no credit card required. You can try it for free. And if you go through my link, you can get, I believe it's 10 free searches per month. All right. So give that a shot. Chris, before I move on to the next one, is there anything we needed to talk about or discuss with that so far?
A couple things. So you get a lot of the basic data available on the free plan. I do believe, Scott, the advanced analytics stuff is only available on the growth plan.
Okay.
It may be available on the pro plan as well. So for those of you guys who don't know, and I'm not an Everbee salesperson, right? But I have the pricing page pulled up because I knew this was going to come up. The free plan allows you to get those free searches, right? Then there's the pro plan and the growth plan. And I think the growth plan is the one that you would need. And I think annually that works out to like $20 a month, something like that, to get all of this data. Now, you don't need any of this data to do niche validation, to do any of these things, but it does make this process a heck of a lot easier. And Scott, if we go to and we look at the monthly and we say we'd have to ask Everbee, right? But I'm pretty sure it's included in the growth plan. $30, right, for the month, even if that's all we're going to do, to be able to quickly validate the niche. That to me is more than worth it, right? To understand what this looks like, even if you're only going to pay for it for the month, to get the conversion rate data, to get all of this, that seems to make sense to me. The other thing that I think is really cool with this, Scott, is we not only get the sales on the products, but we get the total shop sales at a glance. And so we're able to see, and yes, like you can go into the shop and do that and get that data, but you can't easily compare that to the number of sales on a specific listing. So we're very able to see if a shop is top heavy, for example, right? Meaning they have one product that's leading to all of their sales, or if this product that's selling 5,000 units a year is just a small fraction of the business that they're doing. If it's that case, well, then we have a really compelling reason to go jump into their shop, do a little bit more analysis, see how they're treating the niche, see what they're doing, and getting through all of those things. The other thing I think that's interesting here is this conversion rate. And you touched on this. Being able to see that lets us get a really good idea of how much demand there is, right? Because conversion rate is just number of views divided by number of sales. Pretty straightforward. But also how well that specific product is performing versus expectations, right? A mid-range conversion rate on an Etsy product should be somewhere between 1% and 3%, right? I'd say 1.5 to 2 is probably the really safe version of that range. If any of these products are converting lower than that, we should be writing that down, especially if they have a high number of views, right? This very first one that we're seeing here, Scott, 85,758, I think that says, views over 13 months. Now, I'm not a math genius, but I know how to use a Google calculator. That tells me they're getting like 6,600 views per month, and they're only converting 0.81% of those people. If that flower moon phase wall art thing is something that we're interested in, we need to take note of that. It means there is a metric buttload of demand for that product, right?
That's actually a term, isn't it?
Yeah. It's an official measurement in the metric system. I know for our American friends, we don't really understand that, right? But in the rest of the world, you guys understand what a metric buttload is. It's more than an imperial buttload. But when we see something like that, right? 6,600 views monthly, right? Spread out, and only a 0.8% conversion rate. It means there's a lot of demand for that product and it's not being filled by the existing product. Why? It's converting less than half of what it should be doing, even if it's a mediocre listing. So we need to make a mental note of that to come back and say, okay, maybe we create a different version of this. Maybe when they're looking for moon phase wall art, what they're really looking for is a picture and not stickers or whatever this thing is. This is just getting all of this search volume and they're getting all of these views, and those people aren't finding the product that they want. And so if we can create a different version of that, thinking through what people might logically want when they're typing in moon phase flower wall art, we have built in 6,000 visits a month that we have the potential to get. And even if we don't outrank them, we will over time as we are converting better than they are. Does that make sense? So seeing these numbers is great for quick validation, but it's also really cool for the product side of things and saying, okay, this is something I should pay attention to. There's clearly a lot of search volume related to this, and they're not doing a good job serving the audience with what they actually want.
Yeah. And, so I want to talk a little bit about like, how would you use this for niche validation itself, not just products, right? Because I think you're going to use it in both areas. Yeah. All right. So if I was doing this for niche validation, I would want to do that search. I'd want to do multiple searches. Let's say it was moon phases. And then from moon phases, I also seen it was like witchy decor was another one, right? What I would do is I would start to take these common searches. And the way that I'm going to do that also, by the way, is I'm going to look at their tags. And that's going to give me ideas of what else they're trying to go after. And that will give me more inspiration. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at views as a way for me to see how much traffic is out there, right? Like how much is really being searched for, because the views are not lying, right? It's like telling me, like, if these are being viewed, that means there's people viewing them, right? And if people are viewing them, that means that there's people in that market searching for moon phases in this case, right? Or bass fishing, right? Whatever it is. So that's why if I was doing this for the niche validation side of it, I would be using it as, like, I'd be looking at that full list. So if we go back to this list, let me go back in here and see if my little pen is working again. Yeah. So I would go right in. Let me change that color, Chris. I want a different color. I want to go with, let me go.
Go with like a fuchsia, because you got orange and green on here.
See what,
there we go.
Yeah, that might show up a little better. So yeah, so I'm going to basically go right here and I'm going to look at every single one here. And I'm going to do this for multiple searches. So I did this one for moon phases. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at all of this. And I mean, heck, I'm looking at this one here at, what's that? 412,000 for just that one. Now, I would have to look into it and make sure that it has to do with moon phases and all that good stuff. But even if I got rid of that one, I'm looking at this one. This is definitely moon phase, and it gets 85,000 views. It has. And it looks like, from what I can see here, the shop age is only 13 months old. How old is the listing? Well, let's look. So that one there is this one. The listing is 11 months old. So it's just, it was just when it opened. Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually getting more than that 6,600 that we were talking about, because I just based that off the shop age, which is what was on that slide.
Yeah. So yeah, so if I'm looking at that, then I'm like, okay, and then you have all these other things. So I have this one here, right? I have that one that's definitely moon phase. I have this here, which I know is moon phase. And then you have this one here, right? Moon phase. And then this one here, moon phase. So I'm taking these and I am going to look at the views. So I have that one is the view. I have this one is a view. This one is a view. So 31,693, 19,000, 85. And then I'm looking at, okay, the shop age, this is 2 years old, but that's not the listing, right? So let's look at the listing. So the listing here that's 24 months. Let's see, this one here is only 3 months though. So what about that shirt? What did that do? The shirt here was 19,000 in 3 months, right? So that's kind of how I'm doing it if I'm looking at validating a niche. I'm looking at moon phase, and then I'm looking at all of the other searches that would be done, and I'm going to do the same process. And then looking at the favorites is also just another thing. Like before, we would just look at the favorites. Now we have views and conversions. Like that's amazing. And the visibility score allows me to see if that listing has a weak spot where I can maybe do better on optimization. So yes. And yeah, I did not realize, to be quite honest with you, I didn't know what plan that all of this was accessible to, but I do know with the 10 free searches, you do get some of this data, even if all you got was the estimated monthly sales and the total sales, right? Or the age of the listing. So anything that you can get is better than just looking at this here and guessing, right? Minus this green thing that I got there. So anyway, hopefully that helps. And do me a favor, in the comments, let me know, is this helpful? Like, is this helpful, us going through this? Because this is something else we can do more of this stuff on another upcoming podcast or video. Also, I would also say, if you guys are getting value, smash that like button. That's another thing that I forget to tell people or ask people to do. So if you would do that, that would be awesome. Give it a little bit of love. All right, cool. So, Chris, are you ready to move on?
Let's rock and roll.
All right, let's do it. And guys, if you do have any questions, drop them in the comments. If you're here live, we'll go ahead and try to answer them at the end. All right, so moving on. So we just went into moon phases. Now let's do baby girl gift. All right, so let's say I was in the baby market, baby niche, and I'm like, okay, I want to go ahead and do some research. So I went in and did baby girl gift. That's where I went. And then you can see, look at all of this stuff right here. All of this stuff is all related to baby girl gift. So that's a good sign. That's first thing. Now, if I don't have a tool, this is what I'm going to be looking at. Okay. And I'm going to try to say, okay, popular now. This is popular now. This is popular now. This is popular now. So that's all good signs. I can dig into those. That's pretty good. But using Everbee. Go ahead and show you. So I just ran that page, this whole page right here. I ran this, I sorted it. And then you can see here, I sorted it by revenue in this case. So I went right here and I just did the revenue. So $70,000, this one product, okay? Last month did 1,760 sales, and total sales is 3,520, and it's only been active for 2 months. All right. So I'm looking at that. I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. Let's look at this one. We have another one, $60,000, 1,340, right? 47,000 total sales. And it's been almost 3 years. Still good numbers though, right? So I'm looking at all of this stuff. All right. Now, I'm also going to maybe just look at like some stuff that's like young, like this here's 14 months. Let me look at this one. Okay. So 27,000, 1,105 sales, $25 is what it sells for. Total sales, 15,000. And it's been active for 14 months. So I'm looking at that stuff too. Cause I'm like, okay, well, maybe this one here is 35 months old. Of course they're doing that well. Well, this is pretty young, right? So that's also what I look for when I'm doing this. But let's move into this new data. So again, the favorites are here. It's kind of cut off, but you can kind of see it. But this is what I'm looking at in this case. I'm looking at the views, right? And I'm looking at all of these views. So this one here, 232,000. This one here, 1,468,463. Crazy. 302,000, 23,000, 146,000, 111,000. So if I was just doing this as some niche validation, I'd be like, holy crap, there's a lot of traffic here. Okay. There's a lot of traffic. Then I'm going to look at the conversion rate over here. So I can see that I've got a 1.24% on one listing. I've got a 2.55 on another. I've got a 3% on another, almost a 2%, almost a 3%, another little over 2, another little. So these are all converting pretty good. Okay. So those are all things that we're looking at. And the visibility scores, these are all doing pretty well. They're all visibility score at 100. All right. So if I was to look at this and I'm trying to get product ideas, I'm like, okay, well, what is something here that's okay? There might be something here that's like a knitted sweater. Well, we're not going to probably do that, right? But I would still use this as validation for baby girl gift. You see, even if I'm not selling that product, I can still see that people are searching for baby girl gift by looking at these numbers. Now, this one here is it's a little blanket, it looks like. Well, that could be something that I could offer. And it's got a lot of traffic and it's converting pretty well. So I might look into that product if I was in this niche, right? And here's a shirt. Here's just a basic shirt, okay? And that one there, 302,000 views, converts at 3%. And I wonder, what is that doing here? Okay, so it's down here. I must not have scrolled down on that one, or I sorted it differently. But you can see this one here on the plush blanket. It's doing $27,000 right there. Right there. 27,000, which is crazy. So that's how you would look at this new feature built into Everbee. Obviously, on the growth plan, you get to see all of this data, which, guys, if you're doing this, and even if this is a side hustle, like, think about this. If you were starting a side hustle, I used to be in the construction business. If I was going to start a gutter company, like a gutter company that went out and put up new gutters, I would need to buy tools, right? I would need to buy a machine to pump out the gutter, and then I would need tools, a ladder, and I would need all those things. This is one tool. So whenever I talk to people and they're getting ready to start, like, yeah, but I want to save, and I want to do this everything for free. That's fine. It's just going to be a lot more guessing. And in this case, when we're doing this, we want to shortcut that process and really only spend our time on products we know, or at least the niche that we know that there's traffic there and that people are buying in there. We don't want to guess. So to me, this is like a must tool. And yes, I am, an affiliate for Everbee, but I'm a user of Everbee. As you can see, I have a growth plan. I use it every single day. Like, literally every day I'm using this, whether it's for trainings or whether it's for my own business. So it's a really, really great tool. I definitely recommend checking it out. So let me give you guys a little bit of the validation checklist. This is what I use, and this is what I would suggest all of you doing, no matter if you use a tool or not. We want to be able to look at a listing's age. We want to also look at total sales. We want to also look at monthly sales. We want to look at the listing views if we can. We want to look at how many times that item has been favorited. And then we want to look at how many sales converted from the listing views. So it's kind of like you're looking at this here, right? You're looking at that, and then you're looking at that. All right. So that's kind of how I use this here. Okay. And this is kind of how you can figure out, are there products that are selling well that you can draw inspiration from? And this way here, you're not guessing, you're just looking at the data and letting the data guide you and tell you what your next move is in this case. So Chris, is there any questions on that?
Yeah, we had a couple, and I know you just kind of covered it, but somebody did ask, would you recommend doing this now, like getting the pro plan, or waiting until after I make some sales? And the answer is, Scott, still waiting on a t-shirt for this. We got to create one and put one up on Etsy, right? It depends. To me, having this data, right, even if we're only going to get the growth plan for 1 month, right? Like, let's just make that the mindset. Would you like to spend $30 to massively speed up this process and get all of the data you want, right? Well, how much is your time worth, right? If we can speed this process up by an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and get rid of some of the digging, because we immediately know, okay, for underwater bass fishing, right, or underwater kayak bass fishing, the products that rank #1 for that get 700,000 views a month combined. Yeah, that's enough volume for me, right? And even if we don't have that, we can get the sales and do it based off the sales volume. But that doesn't really tell us how much volume there is in the market in terms of overall search volume, right? Because the views that you're seeing there are not just being calculated for that specific keyword. Am I wrong on that, Scott? It should be the views to that listing overall, which would be every search that listing ranks for, is being calculated in that view, which means if underwater bass fishing wall art, right, is getting 700,000 views, it's highly unlikely that they're typing in something other than something related to underwater bass fishing and wall art to get there, right? So if we're using this niche-based approach, this gives us a much clearer picture in a much shorter amount of time of what the volume is in the market and whether or not that will support our goal. Now, Scott, the question I know that we are going to get, because we always get it, is, well, how much is enough? And the answer is, it depends, right? It depends on your long-term goal. If you're trying to get to $50,000 a year from this, you're going to have to take that, right, and say, okay, these products are priced at X, Y, and Z. Let's just say, $100 to make it easy. On average, 30 to 40% profit, which would be $30 to $40 a day, right? Or $30 to $40 a sale. How many sales do I need to get to 50,000? And then if we take the number of views times 1%, right, or whatever that conversion rate would be, then we can start to get closer to that number. But being able to see this views data and being able to see the score and the conversion rate is going to make this process a lot easier for you. So even if you don't use this for the niche validation, it's going to come in really handy on the product validation side of stuff. Again, like, we're not here to sit here and sell Everbee. We have no real interest other than it buys us a cup of coffee if you go and actually join a paid plan. But we see how great these features are for people, and that's why we wanted to talk about it. And Scott, I know the other question that we're going to get is, how close are these numbers to what we're seeing in reality, right? Like, are these numbers reliable, or is it just kind of general directionality?
Yeah, I would say that they're pretty darn accurate. And here's what I would say. Again, it probably will depend, like Chris said, but I did my own analyzing. I did a video on it on YouTube, actually, and I shared like 3 different products that, the numbers that we sold and what Everbee was reporting that we sold. And I believe they were off, but they were off in the good direction, meaning it said that I sold less than I actually did. Right. And it wasn't much. It was like 2 sales, right? One might've been 3, one might've been 2, right? But it was super close. Now, I will say this, it could vary. Like it could be off, but even if it was off 10 or 15, like at least you have an idea, a guide, a good estimated guess of direction, right? Of at least that you know that it's had sales. Now you can go through here's a way that you could do this manually. At least you could get an idea is you would go to a product and you would say, okay, this one here says bestseller. I would look at the cart, see if anybody has it in their cart. If it says like 10 plus people have it in their cart, or 20 plus people have it in their cart, then you know that it's a pretty popular product. Then I would go through the reviews of that shop and I would start to see what products are showing up consistently of people that purchased it that are leaving a review. That's what I would do. It'd be a manual process. That's what we did in the very, very beginning before I started using Everbee. And guess what? It takes a lot of time. So for me to be able to do this, use this, and pull in that data, I mean, within seconds sometimes, it's just super, super easy for me. And I'm a big advocate of, working smarter, not harder. And a lot of times, yes, you are going to spend a little bit of money to use the tool, but it's like anything. Like, are you going to show up to the job site and build someone a deck, but show up with a hammer? Or are you going to show up with a screw gun or a nail gun? Right? Like, we're going to try to make our job easier, and it's probably going to do a better job. So that's really what we're always trying to do here. Do you have something else here, Chris?
Yeah. And somebody had said, yeah, everybody said I sold none in December, but I actually had sold 10, right? Well, yeah, that can happen, right? But again, you're on the low side. And if you want to check this against your own numbers to get an idea of where it's coming in, you can do it with views, right? And you can do it with sales. You know how many sales you had on a particular product. The stats for Etsy sellers inside of your Etsy account will show you how many views listings have gotten. And so you should be able to calculate how, whether it's higher or lower for your market. Obviously, right, not all of this data is shared with Everbee. Some of it's publicly available on Etsy, and some of it's calculated through the different algorithms. So no one is saying that this is 100% accurate. But guess what? Nothing's 100% accurate, right?
No.
Even Etsy data fluctuates from time to time within your own Etsy dashboard, right? They might say, hey, you didn't get any sales today. And then you've had 2 cha-chings come through, and 4 or 5 hours later, it pops through, right? But what you're going to get and what you're typically going to see is that it's always going to be off in the same direction, right? Mm-hmm. So if you run a search for, Scott, what was the second one you did? Like baby girl gift, something like that, right?
Yep.
We know that everything in that search result is going to be off the same way. And so we can use it for directionality, just like we would use Google Trends or anything else. So even if it's only 80% accurate, this is going to get us 99% of the way there in a much shorter amount of time than it would if we sat there and entered each of these listings and said, okay, let's try to calculate how many sales they're getting. Let's try to figure out exactly what they're doing. We don't need to do that. We need to get a good idea of the rough overall size of the market. We need to get a pretty good idea of what the conversion rates are for the people who are ranking on page 1 and what the sales volume is. And if we meet demand, right, in terms of there being good demand in the market, if we meet the sales data and we have a good idea of what our competition looks like in terms of how much time and attention we have to pay to the listing, that gets us to the 1 yard line, right? Then all we have to do is take it that next step and push it over.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I would say, like we said, like when we're doing the product research, especially in the beginning, we're just trying to cut down on launching products that, aren't getting searched, because people are like, yeah, I launched like 20 products and I haven't gotten any sales yet. Have you looked at those products to see if there's even a lot of traffic yet? So that's the big thing. And you can see we're live here right now because I've got a dog barking. So I'm going to have to go tend to that. Chris, take over for a minute, will you?
Go for it. We have a lot of people asking a few different things. So the first one was just waiting for the next cha-ching challenge. The last one was the beginning of January. How often do you guys do it? The first time we actually ever did it was in January. We will be doing another one coming up. I don't have any official dates or announcements on that yet. So as soon as we have some notifications for that, I will let you guys know. We'll let you know on here live. We'll also send out an email. If you guys aren't already on the email list, Scott, is there a very quick and easy way for people just to opt in? Like, do we have a general way for people to get on the list? I'm trying to think what would be the best just general thing.
If they just go to brandcreators.com/sales, that'll take you to the 7-day cha-ching challenge waitlist. And like you said, Chris, we're probably going to be announcing that here shortly. Probably beginning of next week is when we're going to announce it and when we're going to kick that next one off. So we're really looking forward to that one too. So yeah, if you're interested in joining the 7-day Cha-Ching Challenge or just want to know a little bit more about it, go to brandcreators.com/sales and you can check that out. It'll give you the information on that. Okay, so let's do this real quick. We are going to answer some questions. If you guys have any other questions, we'll stick around for another 10 minutes. If you guys have anything, do me a favor though. If you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, you probably should. And if you're on the podcast and you haven't subscribed to that channel, then you probably should, because we got more coming. And on YouTube, I'm posting twice a week now. So it's Tuesdays and Fridays currently. And the response has been really, really good. Just dropped a video yesterday, and that went over all of the features within Everbee, and I showed a bunch of examples, and I think that video was, gosh, I think it was over 15 minutes long, because I couldn't stop because there were just so many great features I wanted to share with you, but I also wanted to show you multiple examples. So check that out if you haven't done so already. And then the last thing is we did just wrap up our Niche Product Magic, our bonus workshop, which we did a full 2-hour niche validation process where we went through 3 examples and spent just over 2 hours doing that in those 3 examples. We're giving that away as a bonus inside of our Niche Product Magic. If you want access to this training, you can head on over to brandcreators.com/magic. And you can get the details there, and you can sign up and get immediate access to this and that bonus training that we just wrapped up this past weekend. So if you're interested in that, if you need help with niche validation and product selection and going deeper, go ahead and check that out. That'll probably be useful to you as well. So, and actually I had it up here on the screen. I don't know why I didn't, but there it is. But yeah. And then just, I would say, if you guys have any questions, let's go ahead and get those addressed right now. And then Chris and I are going to get on out of here because we got another call here in about an hour and a half. So yeah.
Ron said, yes, definitely go through that workshop. It's well worth every minute. And I'm assuming that would be the Niche Product Magic workshop. And if you guys aren't aware, we just added a whole bunch of stuff that actually came as a result of the same thing that we're talking about here, right? We said, hey, all of these features are new. We want to really drill down into how to understand how to use this data to select your niche, how to use this data to better select products. So we shot, Scott, did that take us about two hours on Saturday?
Yeah,
and then
about 2+ hours with the Q&A. Yeah.
Another 30-45 minutes of Q&A on top of that, which was great, all related to really drilling down and understanding that. And somebody said, when would you do an SEO and listing workshop? There is a lot of that stuff included inside of the 30-day product blitz, which you can get when you join brandcreators.com/magic. It's available right there as well. That'll really help you understand how to create some of the listings, get some stuff linked up, and how to create a lot of products in a very short amount of time. So if that's the side of things that you're worried about, you can get that there as well. If you're just trying to understand the product and niche validation side of things, then you can get the Magic Workshop there as well. And Roy said, I learned more from these videos. I'm opening a candle shop this weekend. That's awesome, Roy. We can't wait to see how you are doing with that. Somebody had asked, Scott, is everything now updated in the Niche Magic Workshop? I believe so.
Yeah, and I believe what you mean is, yeah, we basically said that we were rebranding it. It used to be Etsy Product Magic, and now it's Niche Product Magic. And we did that because we wanted to spend a little bit more time focusing on the niche validation and discovery and all of that stuff. So we rebranded it, reskinned it, if you will, and everything has been updated in there as far as that. And then, yes, we've added that 2-hour bonus niche validation session that we just did in there as well with the Q&A. So that's all been updated. It's in there ready for anyone that has already went through that. You obviously got access to that at no additional charge. So, so that's there for you guys as well. So Chris, any quick questions before we roll on out of here?
A couple. The first is, Mal said, what is one of the most popular products from print on demand that you sell in your shop? Obviously, I don't need the niche, but it depends on the niche, right? The answer is take a look at what's selling in your niche, potentially start with that, and then add a bunch of other things that you don't think or don't see already in your niche, right? So we use the example, Scott, and you showed the example of that flower wall art, or what's it called? The moon flower wall art,
moon
or
phase.
wall flower moon phase wall art, right? And it was only converting at 0.8%, right? We know that even a bad listing should be above 1%. So what are we going to do with that? We're going to take a look at that. We're going to say, not that we're not going to sell something similar to that as like stick on wall art, but it looks like they're not meeting the demand. So now we have to think creatively, what are other things people might actually be looking for when they type in moon phase wall art? Well, maybe they want a canvas print, right?
Right.
Maybe they want a rug. Maybe they want something else. It shows us that there's a ton of demand there that's not being met. So we can't just launch the same products that everybody else is already selling, because the people who are selling those products aren't meeting the demand. Does that make sense, Scott?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I would say on that point too, and I just actually shot a video this morning that's going to go up on YouTube, I believe Friday. So keep an eye out for that. And once again, little shameless plug. If you haven't subscribed to that channel, go ahead and do so. But I found an example of someone that created a product with a design and put it on a journal. Okay. So a journal, like a leather bound journal. Okay. Now journals, everyone's got journals. Everyone's selling a journal. Why don't you just, sell a journal? Everybody's buying them. But what they did is they went after a certain niche. I'm not going to give it away because I want you to watch that video, but they basically just took that product and they put their design that targets their niche. And then from there, now that journal is specific to their niche. And then what they did is they also created in this niche, it was a jewelry box, but it was a leather jewelry box that had the same design on the jewelry box, right? And so they were able to take jewelry, which is massive, target it to and they're not selling jewelry, but they're selling something to put the jewelry in, and it went with the bound journal. So that's how you can take one design and leverage it and put it on another type of product. It doesn't have to be the same product even that you just found. It could be a design inspiration. It could be a saying inspiration, right? And you might even take that and go, okay, that's a great idea. I'm going to apply that to my niche. I'll give you an example. So you guys know that right now, like I'm publishing a lot on YouTube. Well, I'm doing a lot of research on like titles, right? Like what makes a good title? And what I'm doing is I'll take someone else that's maybe targeting people on how to grow, I don't know, their, maybe it's their drop shipping business, right? I'm not doing drop shipping. I don't want to serve that person. So they might have a really good title and I can just take it and apply it to my Etsy people, right? Like my Etsy title, right? So all I'm doing is I'm drawing inspiration, even though I'm not directly in that niche. So what I'm trying to say is get ideas from other niches that aren't exactly your niche when you're thinking about even other products that you can offer. Like there's a bunch of people that are selling pillows, but they're not selling them necessarily in my niche, but they're doing well over in this niche. So can I take my design, put it on a pillow, and then use that as one of my products? Yes.
Rohini, and guys, if Scott or I butcher your name, it's not a personal attack against you. It's just because we lack the ability to like say things phonetically. He said, so like if the demand is for wall art, would you create a mug, for example? Well, no. Like if our niche was a very specific kind of thing and the only thing anybody was buying in that niche was wall art, maybe not, but we would still test it, right? If you have a design that's selling well as a sticker wall art, right? Then yes, should you test that design as a canvas? Yes. Why? Maybe somebody lives in an apartment and they don't want to put stickers all over the wall, right? Should you test that design as a pillow? Yes. Why? It costs you 20 cents and about 3 minutes of redesigning that design that you already have done to do that. And what you're going to find is that the stuff that people are buying is being bought in that niche because that's the stuff that people are finding. Right? If your dad's really into bass fishing and you want to buy him something bass fishing related, and the only thing that you can find for him is a bass fishing t-shirt, guess what dad's getting for Father's Day, right? Dad's getting a bass fishing t-shirt. But if you can get him a really cool bass fishing pillow or a bass fishing, a custom tackle box or something like that, maybe that's what you buy him. And what we're seeing in a lot of cases, especially Scott, and we had somebody bring this up on Saturday. They said, hey, my niche is oversaturated. And when you dive in and look at it, the 2 or 3 products that are the top sellers aren't being sold by niche-based stores. It's just a t-shirt company that happened to make a design in that store, right? So that's the other thing that we have to keep in mind. Most of the designs that you'll see, most of the products that you'll see are not actually being created by people serving that niche specifically. They just have a t-shirt creation machine or a mug creation machine, and the listing's been around long enough and people are only finding that because it's the only thing that's available. That's what's being bought. So if we can create a design that works, then we can repurpose it and see. And it costs us 20 cents and 2 minutes in Printify or wherever else to redesign that product. And Scott, you said something on Saturday, and it's inside of the Niche Magic Workshop, but I wanted to bring it up for people. And you said, if you can sell someone a t-shirt, you can sell someone something else. If someone is willing to walk around with that design blasting to everyone from the middle of their body, right? Chances are they're really into that design, right? Whether it's a phrase or a piece of art or whatever. And so if you see t-shirts in your niche, that's actually a good thing, right? That doesn't mean that's all you should ever sell, but it means that there's passion there, right? If somebody is willing to buy I love wine almost as much as I love my best friend, or I love wine more than I love my best friend t-shirt, are they going to buy that as a pillow? Yes, because it's a lot less of a public statement. Right. And so if they're willing to make that as a public statement, they're willing to make that as a private statement, as a throw pillow or whatever else. Right. And so that I don't want people to get bogged down in one specific product or one specific thing. But in a lot of cases, what you'll see is t-shirts or mugs. That doesn't mean that's all that you can sell in that niche. Just keep that in mind.
Yep. All right, Chris, I think we should wrap this up. This has been a long call, but I really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Let me just go ahead and flash this up there one more time. This is our validation checklist. I will read it. So this way here, if you're listening on the podcast, just to kind of give you guys a little recap, looking at the listing age is going to allow us to see history. Okay. Then from there, looking at the total sales, again, that's a history validation point. Then monthly sales lets us see current. Listing views lets us see the potential in traffic over the length of time that it's been up on Etsy. And then favorites lets us see how many people handled it. How many people actually raised their hand and said, I was kind of interested in this thing. And then your conversion rate is a metric to allow us to see how many of those visitors are actually converting into a sale. And to me, that is the whole list. That's your validation checklist. So definitely use it, check it out. And if you are interested in going through our Niche Product Magic Workshop, it is now available. The recording from this last weekend is also already added. It's there for you. So this is an on-demand class where you can go through it. You can head on over to brandcreators.com/magic, and you can get all of the details. You get immediate access, by the way. And then the last thing is if you have not yet tried Everbee, I would just sign up for the free plan and just play around with it and see what it does for you and how it works for your niche. I would try to do a little bit of research first as far as what you want to start searching for so you don't use up those 10. But then I would say, you know what, if you're at all interested in giving this Etsy thing a solid go, then definitely just sign up for the either the growth plan or the pro plan, just to give you more searches and to give you more freedom to just keep drilling in. And even if you only use it for a month, but I would definitely give it a try, even if it's just the free version. So head on over to brandcreators.com/Everbee and give it a shot. All right, Chris, that's it. That's going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And also, if you're on YouTube, remember to subscribe. If you haven't done so already, you'll get more of those updates when we're posting new videos. If you're on the podcast, stay tuned. We got more coming. And if you're on Facebook, we love you too. All right, guys. So take care, take action, have an awesome, amazing day, and we'll see you right back here on the next episode. Take care, guys.